The Don's Assistant. Chapter 2. Sunlight slipped through the penthouse curtains in thin golden ribbons, striping the silk sheets and warming Sienna's bare shoulder, where Dominic's arm no longer rested. For a fragile second, she was certain she had dreamed everything. The firefight, the blood on his shirt, the way his voice cracked when he said she mattered. Then the mattress dipped behind her, and his hand, warm and steady, traced a path from her waist up to the curve of her rib cage. "Thought you disappeared," he murmured, voice husky with sleep. "I considered it," she whispered without opening her eyes. "But your shirt is too comfortable to abandon." He chuckled, the sound a low vibration against her spine. "I wasn't sure you'd be able to sleep here after last night. I've slept through apartment sirens and neighbors rehearsing doom metal bands at 2 a.m. She rolled onto her back to face him. "Your chaos is practically a lullaby." A shadow crossed his expression. Guilt, she realized, but it faded as she grazed her fingers along the stubble on his jaw. In daylight, the ghost looked human, hair mussed, eyes softer than she'd ever seen, the faintest bruise under his collarbone where a bulletproof vest had dug in. He brushed a lock of hair off her cheek. "You weren't supposed to be in the line of fire, I keep replaying it." She caught his hand, pressing a kiss to his knuckles. "I chose to be there. Stop trying to rewrite my decisions." "Old habit." His thumb stroked the inside of her wrist. "I rewrite everything I don't like." "Then rewrite the part where coffee doesn't exist in bed." She nudged his shoulder. "Go on, Don. Be useful." Demanding. But he smiled, slid out from beneath the sheets and pulled on a pair of black lounge pants. Sienna watched the play of muscles across his back, a document in motion far more interesting than any spreadsheet. He paused at the door, looking over his shoulder. "No escaping." "Not until I finish auditing your soul," she teased. He shook his head, disappearing down the hall. She stretched beneath the covers and inhaled the scent of his pillow, cedar soap and something darker, like midnight espresso. She was halfway to dozing again when a ringtone pinged from the nightstand. Dominic's phone left behind. The screen lit with a name she didn't recognize. Vincenzo. She hesitated. Dominic had trusted her with access, but eavesdropping was different from organization. Before she could decide, the call ended, replaced by a text bubble. "Need to speak. Urgent. Bring S to call." Curiosity buzzed. She dropped the phone back just as footsteps padded in. Dominic returned with 2 mugs, steam curling. He caught the guilty shift of her eyes. "You looked." "Not accusation, just statement." "It rang," she said. "Vincenzo wants to talk. Bring S." "That's me, I assume." Dominic's mouth tightened around possibilities. He set the mugs on the bedside table and climbed back in, offering her the one that smelled like creamy vanilla. She took it gratefully, cradling the warmth. "Vincenzo runs intel in Palermo," he said. "Old friend, and the best rumor collector in the Mediterranean." "Sounds colorful." "He only texts if something serious slips through the cracks." Dominic sipped his own coffee. "If he asks for you specifically, it's tied to last night." Sienna exhaled. "Then we hear him out." Dominic nodded but didn't move. Instead, he leaned back against the headboard, eyes skimming her face as though cataloging every freckle. Soft morning light chased gold across his irises, turning them honey brown instead of the usual obsidian. She felt suddenly exposed, not by lack of clothing, but by the tenderness in his gaze. "What?" she asked, heat blooming in her cheeks. "I'm deciding whether to thank Marco for hiring you. He didn't hire me. I'm pretty sure the job posting was Ava's doing. In that case, she'll get the raise." He set his mug aside and reached for her free hand. "Sienna, last night changed things. Not just between us, but for my entire operation. Franco crossing me." His jaw ticked. "It's a line I never expected." She studied him over the rim of her coffee. Lines get blurred when power is at stake. Which is why I need clarity. He threaded their fingers. You at my side changes the equation. For the first time, I'm balancing risk with something I can't quantify. Try, she said. He searched for words the Don stripped of eloquence. You're not leverage. You're essential data. He grimaced. Graphs and numbers, language you understand. She laughed, leaning in to brush her lips against his. You're terrible at metaphors. I've never needed them. His mouth lingered at the corner of hers. Now I need everything. A knock interrupted. 2 gentle taps followed by Ava's lilting. Breakfast. The door cracked and a tray appeared before either could scramble for clothes. Ava pushed it inside without looking, sing-songing. Close your eyes, dears. Food is hot. No bullets in sight. Dominic rolled his eyes. Oh, grazie, Ava. Eat before it gets cold. Her footsteps receded. Sienna inhaled the aroma. Fresh croissants again, fruit salad, little glass pots of honey. She whispered, we have to tip her more. She doesn't accept tips. Dominic shifted the tray between them. She accepts gossip. Unfortunately, she already knows ours. They ate cross-legged under the duvet, picking from the same plate like conspirators. Sienna dabbed honey onto Dominic's lower lip. He retaliated by smearing strawberry jam on hers and kissing it away. Their laughter felt like glass bells ringing in an empty cathedral. After breakfast, Dominic rose and retrieved his phone. I'll call Vincenzo. Speaker? She nodded, propping pillows behind her. Dominic hit a string of numbers. The line clicked, followed by a man's smooth Italian baritone. Vescari, heard rumors of fireworks in your city. Dominic's tone chilled. Vincenzo, meet Sienna. A pleasure. Sienna could almost hear his smile. I trust you will forgive me for bypassing formal channels. I have alarming news. Dominic's hand tightened around the device. Franco Moretti. Ah, you already suspect. He sent men last night, Dominic said. Failed. Its failure is why he's changed tactics, Vincenzo replied. He's casting doubt on your allies, painting you unstable since a civilian walked into your life. Sienna stiffened. Meaning me. Precisely. Vincenzo said. He is whispering to the syndicates that you've gone soft. Dominic's eyes went flat. Where is he now? Preparing a gathering at the Rosso di Sera restaurant, noon. He wants to declare you compromised. Sienna mouthed noon. Dominic nodded once. Grazie, he said. One more thing, Vincenzo added. He's arranged a backup plan, taking out the civilian if you don't appear. Dominic swore softly. Understood. Be careful, amico. I like a world where you're alive. Vincenzo ended the call. Silence stretched. The hum of the city floated through glass walls, car horns, distant engines. But inside the penthouse, everything was as still as a chessboard waiting for its next move. Sienna swung her legs out of bed. We go. Dominic blocked her path with a hand to her hip. It's too dangerous. Vincenzo just made it clear it's more dangerous if I'm not there. Franco will take the shot whether I'm hiding or standing beside you. She grabbed a silky robe from the chair. Better he sees I'm not leverage. I'm your equal. That isn't how these men think. Then it's time they learn. She met his gaze, steady. You trust me? With my life, I don't trust them with yours. Then protect me, she said, voice fierce, but don't cage me. Dominic's jaw flexed. After a breath, he nodded, curt acceptance. Okay, we go. Marco drives. Please wear the vest. She sighed. I'll add it to my outfit. He brushed her hair back, palm warm on her neck. I hate this. You hate not controlling every variable. She pressed a kiss to his sternum. Get dressed, Don. They showered in separate corners of the suite. Dominic quick and efficient. Sienna lingering until steamy spray erased the last hint of cordite from her skin. She dressed in a high-waisted charcoal skirt, pale blue blouse, and the fitted Kevlar vest disguised beneath a tailored blazer. At the mirror, she applied subtle makeup, punctuating her confidence with a crimson lip. Dominic emerged in charcoal suit and silver tie, sleek as a dagger. Seeing her, he froze. There was unguarded awe in his eyes that made her cheeks burn. He cleared his throat. "Ready?" She fastened a tiny earpiece Marco had handed her earlier. "Ready?" Marco waited by the elevator, impassive but radiating approval. Ava hovered behind him, holding a leather handbag. "For you," Ava said to Sienna. "Just essentials, first aid, extra clips, Swiss chocolate." Dominic raised a brow. "Chocolate?" "Stabilizes mood," Ava said. "Best medicine for shock." Sienna hugged her. "Thank you." They descended to the garage where the Escalade idled. Marco opened the back door. Dominic gestured for Sienna to slide in first. She noticed 2 additional SUVs waiting, backup vehicles with tinted windows. "Extra security," Marco said as if reading her thoughts. The convoy pulled into traffic. Dominic's grip found her kneecap and rested there, steady, a silent oath. Outside, skyscrapers skimmed by until glittering glass gave way to narrow streets lined with brick facades. Rosso di Sera loomed ahead, an Art Deco jewel at a quiet corner, its burgundy awnings flapping in breeze off the river. Marco parked 1 block down. "We sweep the place first," he said. "No," Dominic answered. "Franco will expect bravado. We walk straight in." Sienna's pulse drummed, but she placed her hand over Dominic's. "We walk in," she echoed. Marco handed Sienna a compact pistol in a satin clutch. "Safety is left." She slipped it inside, testing the weight. "I remember." The air outside smelled of freshly baked bread and diesel. They approached the restaurant at a measured pace. Dominic on Sienna's right, Marco behind. 2 men at the door parted without greeting. Inside, a host of white linen tables glittered under chandelier light. Only one was occupied. Franco Moretti, lounging like a panther in a cream suit, ringed by 4 guards. He rose with a serpent smile. "Dominic, I worried you'd lost your nerve." Dominic's return smile was polite poison. "Seemed rude to miss lunch." Franco's eyes skimmed Sienna like a collector appraising stolen art. "And this must be the reason your empire trembles." Sienna held Franco's gaze, tilting her chin. "Only men afraid of paperwork should tremble at me." Franco laughed, genuine delight flashing. "Sharp tongue." He gestured to an empty chair opposite him. "Sit." Dominic touched Sienna's elbow. They sat. Guards hovered. Marco leaned near the bar, eyes scanning exits. A waiter materialized, poured wine. Franco raised his glass. "To new beginnings, out with the old, in with the efficient." Dominic clinked without drinking. "If efficiency means cowardice, I'll remain old." Franco's smile hardened. "The families worry. They see a king distracted by romance." "My business numbers haven't slipped." "Not yet, but vulnerability invites knives." "Knives like yours?" Franco shrugged. "I offered you grace, Dominic. Step back politely. Let stronger hands guide the docks." "You offered a bullet to my partner." Dominic's voice dropped to basalt stillness. "That's not grace." Sienna felt heat bloom beside her. Dominic's jaw flexed so tight she imagined enamel cracking. She laid a hand on his thigh beneath the table, a silent tether. Franco tilted his head, eyes narrowing on the gesture. "Ah." She calms the beast. "Tell me, Signorina, do you believe love can civilize a monster?" Sienna smiled, sweet and lethal. "Only monsters who want to change." Franco set his glass down. "Men like us don't change. We evolve or we perish." "I'll take evolution," she said, starting with higher IQ board members. Franco's guards bristled. Dominic covered her hand, thumb stroking. "Careful, Franco. She labels fools." "But can she label herself?" Franco leaned forward, voice silken. "Accessory after the fact? Accomplice? Hostage?" Sienna matched his lean. How about Queen? Franco's head tipped back in a soft chuckle. Ambitious. Efficient. She lifted her glass. And just like labels, titles stick. Dominic's subtle squeeze signaled approval. Franco reclined, tapping a manicured nail on the tablecloth. I'll give you a chance, he said. Leave the city tonight. Hand the docs to me. In exchange, she lives. Dominic's face turned to marble. Or we clean house. Franco glanced at his guards. Starting now. Sienna's phone vibrated with a coded text from Marco. Outside trucks moving in. 2 vans. She glanced at Dominic. Slight nod. He read her cue. Dominic rose with unhurried grace. Lunch is over. He placed a €100 note on the table, insultingly small for the venue. Bill is paid. Franco stayed seated, but his smile died. You walk away? I walk toward survival. Dominic extended a hand to Sienna. Sienna stood, smoothed her skirt. Have the risotto boxed. Your men will need comfort food after their demotion. Franco snarled, whipping his napkin onto the table as they turned. His guards shifted, but Dominic's lethal glare froze them. Sienna's pulse roared in her ears as they exited. Marcus signaled with a jerk of his chin. Vans idling at the curb, men inside armored with Kevlar and malice. Dominic muttered, "Move fast, left alley." Sienna gripped her clutch, finger on the pistol safety as they darted down a narrow brick corridor reeking of damp stone. Ahead, Marco popped a side door to an adjoining bakery. The warm scent of sugar collided with tension. They cut through the kitchen, chefs yelping in Italian protest, and burst onto a secondary street where the convoy SUVs idled. Metal thunder cracked behind them, guns from the vans. Marco shoved Sienna into the rear seat, Dominic right after, then peeled away, tires shrieking over cobblestone. Sienna dared glance back. Franco's men in the alley firing wildly, customers scattering like pigeons. Marco swerved onto the main boulevard, horns blaring. You okay? Dominic asked, gripping her shoulders. Heartbeat present, she said, breathless. He pressed his forehead to hers for half a second, then barked orders into his earpiece. The convoy split. The second SUV zipping down a side street, pulling pursuit. Marco guided them across a bridge, engines echoing over water. The van behind them accelerated, gunmen leaning from windows. Sienna ducked as bullets clanged against armored panels. Marco drew a compact weapon, firing out the open sunroof. The van swerved, rear tire shredding. Flames sparked under the axle. It fishtailed, crashing into a lamppost. Dominic exhaled. Sienna's lungs burned with unused air. She raised her head. Well, she said, voice shaking. I'm officially upgrading Franco from obnoxious to suicidal. Dominic's lips twitched. Agreed. Marco navigated toward the riverfront warehouses, weaving through traffic until the sky-piercing tower of Dominic's building reappeared. Sirens wailed in the distance. Police or ambulance, she couldn't tell. They rolled into the garage. Dominic guided Sienna out first, scanning shadows. Inside the private elevator, silence reigned until the doors closed and he gathered her to his chest. I promise no one touches you, he whispered, and still... She cut him off with a kiss. You kept me alive. We ran the gauntlet and we're standing. His eyes glimmered like storm glass. I keep seeing you on that restaurant floor. We didn't give him the pleasure. She smoothed his collar. He underestimated paperwork. Dominic huffed a shaky laugh. The elevator chimed. Doors opened to the penthouse. Ava and 2 guards awaited, tension etched into their faces. Ava rushed forward, cupping Sienna's cheeks. Mia ragazza, are you hurt? Bruised ego only. Dominic gave a curt nod to the guards. Double patrols, secure line to Arturo. No one in or out without Marco's approval. The men dispersed. Ava squeezed Sienna's hand, then faded to the kitchen. Dominic led Sienna to the living room sofa. City afternoon light slanted across polished floors, gilding dust motes. He sat, pulling her onto his lap. She felt the tremor in his thighs despite his iron posture. "Talk to me," she urged. He lifted her hand to his lips. "I thought I could control every piece. Franco showed me how fragile control is. You built an empire on intimidation. Maybe it's time to build one on trust." His gaze sharpened. "Trust in whom? The families?" "Trust in us, in Marco, Ava, Arturo, the people already loyal." She brushed his temple. "And trust that I'm not going anywhere." He swallowed hard. "Sienna, I can't lose you." "Then don't." She lightly kissed his knuckles. "But you have to let me in fully. No more shielding me from boardrooms or firefights. We're a team." Dominic's breath left in a shudder. "You scare me more than Franco." "Because I make you feel. Because you could break me." He clenched his jaw. "But you won't, will you?" She shook her head. "Your mind to reorganize, remember?" A smile flickered, fragile but real. He wrapped his arms around her, pressing her against his heartbeat. She felt the pound slow under her cheek, from frantic drum to steady pulse. For a long moment, neither spoke. The city murmured outside, distant and irrelevant. Marco's voice finally cut the stillness. He stood at the corridor entrance, phone in hand. "We have intel," he said. "Franco just met with 2 representatives from the Capaldi syndicate. They're planning a vote to strip control of the docks tonight." Dominic's eyes hardened. "Prepare the war room, get Arturo, Blanca, Vincenzo on secure call." Marco nodded, disappearing. Dominic tilted Sienna's chin. "Ready to rearrange more calendars?" She kissed him softly. "Hand me a label maker, Don." A shadow of relief crossed his features, tempered by resolve. He set her gently on her feet. Hand in hand, they walked toward the corridor, 2 silhouettes blending into the golden hush, prepared to fight the world, armed with spreadsheets, guns, and a love that refused to be filed under impossible. The penthouse war room had once been a wine cellar showroom, but the racks now held flat panel monitors instead of Bordeaux. Dominic stood at the head of a long oak table, sleeves rolled, hair still damp from a hasty shower. Sienna sat on his left with a laptop open, Marco on his right near a spread of blueprints. Across from them, Arturo and Blanca waited with tablets glowing. Vincenzo's face filled one monitor, grainy feed from Palermo flashing behind him. Dominic's voice cut through the hum of server fans. "Franco meets with Capaldi emissaries in 3 hours. They plan a formal vote to strip my control of the docks, effective midnight." Arturo tapped a stylus. 2 Capaldi lieutenants already landed. They're housed at the Morella Hotel. Blanca swiped to an overhead satellite image. "They'll rendezvous at Warehouse 12, Port Norto. Large floor space, good sight lines, multiple exits." Sienna zoomed the map, highlighting entry points. "Anyone else besides Capaldi?" Vincenzo's accent crackled through the speakers. "DeSanti crew sent observers. They follow the wind, but they'll vote with whoever looks dominant." Dominic folded his arms. "We cannot allow Franco to appear dominant." Sienna's eyes darted over the numbers Vincenzo had emailed 30 minutes prior. Secret wire transfers funneled through shell companies, all leading back to Franco. "Then we bleed his credibility." She rotated the screen so everyone saw. "These bank records show Franco siphoning shipping fees into offshore accounts. If we expose that before the vote, no one will crown him." Arturo whistled. "Evidence admissible in Mafia court?" Sienna shrugged. "Long as the guns are bigger than the objections." Blanca grinned. "I like her." Dominic placed a steady hand on Sienna's lower back, a silent endorsement. "How do we present it?" Sienna's fingers flew across the keyboard. "I'll compile a visual ledger, project it onto the warehouse wall. We need a portable projector, secure power source, and 5 minutes uninterrupted." Marco flipped a blueprint to reveal ventilation schematics. "There's a catwalk above the main floor. I can station sharpshooters there." Dominic shook his head. Too aggressive, we walk in civil, project the evidence, force a vote before Franco recovers. Sienna scanned the faces around the table. Civil is relative. We still need insurance. Dominic nodded. 2 teams outside for extraction. Non-lethal gas if shots start. Vincenzo leaned closer to the webcam. Capaldi loves theater. Humiliate Franco publicly, and they'll side with you just to watch him squirm. Arturo closed his tablet. We'll courier the proof to DeSanti afterward. They hate thieves. Blanca gestured to the laptop. I'll prep backup copies on encrypted drives. Dominic checked his watch. We move in 90 minutes, gear up. The screen went dark. People scattered. Sienna gathered printouts, her pulse skittering with anticipation. Dominic followed her into the adjoining armory, where weapons gleamed beneath track lights. He selected a compact handgun, checked the magazine, and offered it butt first. This one's lighter, less kick. She accepted, sliding it into her thigh holster. You're really letting me present the evidence? I'm really letting you save my empire a second time. He strapped on a Kevlar jacket under his suit coat, then paused, eyes softening. You sure about this? She smoothed his lapel. My career was numbers. All I'm doing is showing math. He pulled her into the crook of his arm. Math with bullets in the margins. Margins are your domain. She kissed him lightly. Mine's the equation. He rested his forehead against hers. If Franco lays a hand on you, then your empire of spreadsheets goes feral, I know. She offered a wry smile. Let's keep his hands busy losing votes instead. Ava appeared in the doorway holding a black messenger bag. Nutrition, she announced. Electrolyte drinks, sugar tablets, adrenaline shots, and biscotti because nerves like crunch. Dominic blinked. Adrenaline shots? Ava's brows lifted. I have been here longer than you, young man. She pressed the bag into Sienna's arms. Bring my ragazzo home. Sienna hugged her. I always plan on it. Marco's voice echoed from the hall. Convoy ready. Night had not fully fallen. The sun hovered low, casting brass sparkles across the river as the 3-vehicle convoy rolled toward the industrial docks. Dominic and Sienna sat side by side in the middle SUV. She opened her laptop, finalizing the ledger slideshow. Lines of red showed money dripping from port fees into Franco's offshore vaults. People see red, they think blood, she murmured. Dominic squeezed her knee. Good, remind them whose blood he'll spill. The convoy slowed, asphalt turning to rough concrete. Stacks of rust-red containers towered overhead like silent jurors. Warehouse 12 hulled the skyline, windows boarded, only a single floodlight marking the entrance. The other SUVs broke off, parking in shadowy alleys. Marco killed the engine. He turned, eyes stone. 2 minutes inside. If it goes south, signal. He tapped his earpiece. We blow the side door, smoke cover, pull out. Dominic nodded. He and Sienna stepped into the salty evening air. The odor of diesel thick. Distant foghorns mourned across the harbor. Guards at the door frisked Dominic perfunctorily, leered longer at Sienna until Dominic's silent glare had them stepping back. Inside, the warehouse smelled of damp wood and motor oil. Lanterns hung from beams, casting theatrical pools of light. Roughly 30 men milled around a makeshift table fashioned from crates. Some wore tailored suits, others leather jackets with family insignias. At the table's head lounged Franco, legs crossed, cigar bleeding smoke. He looked up, feigning surprise. Dominic, brave to attend. Foolish to bring your accountant. She likes meetings, Dominic said, voice calm. Franco's gaze devoured Sienna's slim figure and professional blouse. I bet she balances more than ledgers. Dominic's jaw flexed. Sienna stepped forward. I'm here to balance yours, Franco. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Capaldi's emissaries, 2 silver-haired men with shark smiles, exchanged amused glances. Dominic gestured toward a cleared patch of wall. You wanted transparency. Let's project it. Franco blinked. Project. Marco and Blanca entered behind them carrying a rugged hard case. Franco's guards tensed but didn't stop them. Blanca knelt, popping the latch, unfolding a portable projector onto a tripod. Sienna snaked the HDMI cable from her laptop and clicked a key. The opposite wall blazed with a spreadsheet. Column after column scrolled automatically. Dates, amounts, offshore routing numbers. Every 10th line flashed red. Sienna spoke, voice amplified by the hush. Over the past 6 months, port taxes have flowed into a private account on Grand Cayman. Owner of record, Franco Moretti's cousin, €32 million. Missing from union funds. Missing from your shares. Murmurs sharpened into curses. One of the Capaldi envoys stepped forward. You have proof? Sienna hit the spacebar. Screenshots bloomed. Passport scans. Transfer receipts bearing Franco's digital signature. She took a breath, meeting every accusing stare. If this assembly values honor, I motion for immediate censure. Franco surged upright, chair screeching. Forgeries. Dominic's voice slid like ice. Digital trail confirmed by Vincenzo Ricci in Palermo. Ask him yourself. Capaldi Envoy 2 muttered. Ricci doesn't forge. Franco stabbed a finger toward Sienna. She manipulates numbers. She seduced Ricci. She seduced Vescari. Sienna's laugh rang sharp. If you respected women's skills, your books wouldn't betray you. Laughter erupted from a cluster near the back. Franco's face mottled scarlet. He glanced at his guards, mouth snapping open, just as Blanca covertly pivoted the projector to blast a bright beam into their eyes. Startled, they shielded her. Marco tossed a flashbang into the dim far corner. It popped, drowning the lanterns in white flare. Panic exploded. Dominic seized Sienna's wrist, pulling her left as Franco's shout fractured into gunfire. Bullets smacked shipping pallets. Capaldi thugs dove for cover, some firing at Franco's men instead of Dominic. Marco returned shots precise, dropping a guard before he could flank. Smoke grenades hissed, belching gray plumes that swallowed the warehouse in swirling murk. Dominic pulled Sienna behind a stack of crates. You good? Hearing's ringing, but fine. She peeked around. Blanca? Safe exit. He pressed his earpiece. Team 2, extraction now. A side door clanged open. Arturo waved, beckoning. But Franco's silhouette emerged through smoke, gun hand steady, eyes burning. Sienna saw the muzzle rise. Instinct lifted her pistol. She fired. The report deafened in the enclosed space. Franco spun, grazed in the thigh, stumbled but kept aim. Dominic cursed, pushing Sienna behind him. He fired twice. Franco dove. More shots cracked, sparks puffing from metal. Men screamed in Italian, cursing loyalties. Blanca appeared beside them. Capaldi's switching sides, they want Franco's head. Then give them proof. Sienna shoved a USB drive into Blanca's palm. Take it. Blanca sprinted toward the envoy cluster. Marco called out, Waham, we have to move. Dominic guided Sienna through low haze, weaving past toppled lanterns. They reached the side door where Arturo covered with an SMG. Outside, night air tasted of burnt powder. Engines idled. A van screeched around the corner, headlights blind. Franco leaned from passenger side, blood staining his pant leg, rage contorting his face. He aimed at Sienna again. Dominic threw her down. 2 shots fired near her ear. Pain roared like a siren. She wasn't sure whose bullet hit whom. Marco fired back, shattering the van windshield. The driver lost control. Tires screamed, metal slammed into a stack of containers. Dominic hauled Sienna to her feet. Move. They sprinted for the SUVs. She cradled her ringing head, adrenaline converting pain into molten focus. Inside the vehicle, Marco gunned the engine. Another SUV peeled out behind them, Blanca waving the USB triumphantly. Dominic pressed gauze to Sienna's upper arm where a bullet had nicked flesh. Blood seeped but shallow. I'm fine, she insisted through clenched teeth. That's blood, he growled, and scratches. Worry about Franco. Dominic's phone buzzed. He answered. Blanca. Pause. Relief. Good. He hung up, eyes closing for a second. Capaldi called off the vote. They want neutral arbitration. Franco's finished. Sienna exhaled, adrenaline diving. We did it. Almost. He wrapped tape around her arm. Now I need you stitched up and resting. And you? He gently tilted her chin, thumb caressing the bruise blooming on her cheek. I'll be right beside you. Back at the penthouse, Ava transformed the dining table into a field hospital, while a discreet doctor stitched Sienna's graze. Dominic hovered, refusing to sit. Marco guarded the balcony, phone glued to ear, overseeing sweeps across the city for any last gasp from Franco. Sienna winced as the needle bit. Dominic gripped her hand. She managed a smile. For a monster, you make a good nurse. He lifted her knuckles to his lips. For an accountant, you shoot straight. They both laughed, a ragged sound of shared exhaustion. The doctor finished, pronounced her stable, and left with a nod at Dominic. Ava delivered tea. Dominic watched Sienna sip, shadows fading from his features. You saved my empire again, he murmured. We saved each other, she corrected. Marco stepped inside, removing his earpiece. Franco's van? Empty. He vanished before police arrived. Blood trail, but no body. Dominic's expression hardened. He'll strike again. Sienna stared into her tea. Then we prepare. Dominic met her gaze, understanding glinting. He turned to Marco. Double our intel budget. Put a bounty on Franco. Alive. Marco nodded, already in motion. Dominic faced Sienna, determination tempered by tenderness. We end this together. No more shields. She squeezed his hand. Then let's study the next variable. Night pressed velvet against the panoramic windows. Far below, sirens sang a distant lullaby. Sienna felt the throb of her stitched arm, the flutter of her heart as Dominic's warmth encircled her. Somewhere in the shadows, Franco nursed vengeance, but inside the penthouse numbers aligned and chaos bowed to resolve. Dominic drew her close. Rest now, we start planning at dawn. She leaned against his chest, eyes heavy but mind whirring. As fatigue slipped over her, she whispered, Wake me for breakfast. No bullets, only biscotti. His laugh rumbled softly. Deal. The penthouse lights dimmed. Outside, city neon pulsed like a heartbeat, echoing theirs, synchronous, defiant, alive. Sienna woke in darkness to the rhythmic hush of rain against floor-to-ceiling glass. Dominic's heartbeat thrummed beneath her cheek, steady and slow. At some point she had fallen asleep curled against him on the living room sofa, both still dressed, his jacket serving as their blanket. She shifted carefully, expecting a stab of pain from the stitched graze on her upper arm. But the ache was muted. Ava must have slipped her something stronger than tea. Awake? Dominic asked, voice a gravel whisper. Only halfway, she murmured. What time is it? Almost 4. He brushed fingertips through her hair. Storm rolled in an hour ago. City's quiet for once. She listened. No sirens, no phone alerts, just the distant hum of transformers and the soft patter of rain sliding down tempered glass. It felt like the eye of a hurricane, a fragile pause before the next lashing wind. Arm still hurting? He asked. Sore. She lifted her bandaged limb. But stitches are neat. Wouldn't expect less from your in-house surgeon. Retainer includes midnight emergencies. He tipped her chin, searching her face. I should have pulled you away sooner. And we wouldn't have the evidence in Capaldi's hands. She traced the crease between his brows. Stop rewriting outcomes. I keep seeing you step in front of his gun. His breath hitched. I've lost people before, Sienna. Lovers, friends, costs of this life. But with you it's different. Losing you isn't an option, I understand. He looked almost angry at the confession. It terrifies me. Rain whispered along the glass. She eased upright, legs draped across his lap, and folded his hands inside hers. I'm scared too, Don. You could break my heart with a single cold command. Her voice trembled. But you won't, I trust that now. He swallowed. I never wanted trust, it's messy, binding. Exactly. She leaned forward and kissed him, soft, lingering, messy, binding, human. The taste of him, black coffee, storm air, settled warmth in her chest. When they parted, she whispered, Tell me something you've never said aloud. He hesitated, shadows playing across his features. When my mother died, I promised I'd build an empire no one could topple. I thought strength meant solitude. Tonight I realized solitude makes the walls hollow. He pressed their joined hands to his sternum. You fill them. Tears stung her eyes, unexpected and fierce. Dominic! He kissed her tears away, gentle, reverent, until her breath came easier. Then his mouth slanted over hers with new urgency, a kiss of gratitude and need, of vows unspoken. She answered in kind, fingers threading into his hair, forgetting rain, stitches, the world. He shifted, laying her back on the sofa, his body a confident shield yet trembling with restrained desire. Their clothes became barriers. Buttons slipped, fabric rustled. Skin met skin, warm silk, fresh bandage edges, heartbeat against heartbeat. Sienna, say stop if... Don't you dare stop, she breathed and drew him down. Time thinned, measured not in minutes but in gasps and murmured endearments, Italian and English mingling. He was careful of her arm, kissing the bruise on her cheek like penance. She marked the muscle of his shoulders, claiming the man under the steel facade. Outside, lightning flickered, strobed across their entwined forms, then darkness folded them together. When the storm's growl rolled distant and their pulses slowed, they lay entwined on the cushions, the room smelling of rain-cooled air, sex, and Dominic's cedar soap. Could use that beach now, she whispered, and we'll get there. His thumb traced lazy circles over her hip. Promise. Footsteps approached. Light, measured. Dominic grabbed the throw blanket, draped it over their bodies. Marco cleared his throat softly from the hallway. Boss? Dominic's responding sigh was indulgent rather than irritated. Report. Franco's location confirmed, Marco said. He's holed up in a decommissioned ferry on the East Pier. Capaldi informant says he's gathering whatever loyal men he has left. They expect he'll try to flee by dawn. Sienna propped on an elbow. Any deeper alliances? Not yet, but there's chatter he contacted a weapons broker. Codename Orpheus. Unknown whether it's purchase or barter. Dominic's eyes hardened. Orpheus deals in C4 and manpads. If Franco buys portable rockets, the docks aren't his only target. Sienna felt the cold slide along her spine. He'd strike civilian assets to frame you as chaos. Dominic nodded. We move before sunrise. He glanced at Marco. Assemble the containment team. Non-lethal preferred unless he fires first. I want Franco alive for the families. The vote ends with him testifying. Marco's gaze darted to the blanket-shrouded couple. A faint grin twitched. Understood. 30 minutes to wheels. He left. Sienna slid fingers through Dominic's hair. We should restock the biscotti after this. I'll commission a bakery. He kissed her collarbone once more before helping her sit. You stay. I'll bring Franco back. Not a chance. She rose, winced pleasantly at sore muscles, then collected her scattered clothing. He's not just an enemy now, he's an accounting anomaly. I close open files. Dominic's pride lit behind concern. Vest on, and if bullets fly, you duck first. Deal. She brushed her lips against his. And if spreadsheets fly, you duck first. He actually laughed, a short, incredulous burst, then hurried to dress. Minutes later, they regrouped in the armory, Marco loading tranquilizer rifles alongside live round pistols, Blanca slotting USB sticks into a waterproof pouch. Arturo laid out tactical comm units. Ava bustled in with travel mugs of espresso. Per il coraggio, she said, kissing Dominic's cheek, then Sienna's. Bring me good news. Dawn bruised the horizon with slate and violet as the convoy sped along deserted wharfs. Sienna rode up front with Marco, laptop balanced on her knees, running predictive heat maps of the ferry's deck layout. Dominic sat behind, reviewing messages from Capaldi envoys promising neutrality if Franco was presented alive. The city still slept. Only gulls screeched over the dark water. They parked behind a stack of corroded shipping crates. The old ferry loomed ahead, white paint chipped, nameplate missing. Rusty gangways led up to dark portals. One floodlight burned at the bow. Heat signatures, Sienna whispered, pointing at her screen. 5 on deck, 3 below. Small generator in engine room. Dominic peered over her shoulder. Franco's injured, he'll stay below decks. Marco passed out earpieces. Team Alpha to starboard ramp, Bravo aft. Sienna with me center deck. Dominic started to protest, but Sienna squeezed his hand. We practiced. I know the signals. He scanned her face, then nodded. Stay in cover. They moved. Morning wind whipped off the inlet carrying salt and diesel. The teams fanned out, black-clad shapes gliding over gangplanks. Sienna clutched her small pistol, but let Marco's broad back lead. Shadows swallowed them inside a cargo bay smelling of stale fuel. Gunfire erupted from starboard, Alpha engaging. Marco flashed hand signals, redirecting her behind a bulkhead, as 2 men burst from a stairwell. He dropped one with a tranquilizer dart. The other spun toward Sienna. She fired. Her shot punched his forearm. He yelped, dropped his weapon. Marco secured him with plastic cuffs. Footsteps thundered from below. Dominic's growl crackled in their earpieces. Franco sprinting to engine room. Block exits. Marco muttered, follow me. They descended a narrow ladder, slipping on condensation. The engine room's single bulb swung, casting lunatic shadows across pipes. Franco limped between machinery, pistol shaking, blood now soaking his thigh bandage. Come out, Dominic, he shouted. Face me without your pets. Dominic stepped from the port side, gun lowered to half-mast. It's over, Franco. Capaldi withdrew support. Lies. Franco's eyes were wild. They fear me. Fear is not respect. Sienna emerged behind Dominic. Franco's gaze snagged on her, snarling. You, he spat. The accountant witch. Dominic's arm barred Sienna back. Drop the weapon. Franco's finger tightened on the trigger. I drop, you kill me. At least let me take her first. Before Dominic could react, Sienna spoke, voice icy calm. You're riddled with debt entries, Franco. Overdrawn, insolvent, bankrupt. She stepped beside Dominic, unflinching. Your ledger ends here. Franco's snarl became disbelief. In that fractional beat, Dominic fired. Single precise shot to Franco's shoulder. The gun clattered. Franco collapsed, screaming. Marco emerged, zip-tied Franco's wrists. Tranquilizer hissed. Franco slumped unconscious. Dominic wheeled toward Sienna. I told you cover. I was covered, she countered, adrenaline high. By your presence. He exhaled, part fury, part awe. He pulled her against him, forehead to hers. You terrify me. Likewise. She grinned shakily. But terror keeps us precise. Marco radioed. Deck secure. No further hostiles. Extraction ready. Dominic nodded. Together they hauled Franco topside, dawn light breaking peach along the horizon. Rain had passed. The air smelled cleansed. Capaldi observers watched from a distance as Franco's unconscious form was loaded into a waiting van, marked security logistics. Blanca transmitted the arrest footage to every syndicate contact. By the time the van's doors shut, Dominic's phone buzzed with messages of reluctant loyalty. Sienna leaned against the rail, muscles trembling from adrenaline come-down. Dominic joined her, slipping an arm around her waist. 3 nights, he said quietly. 3 times you risked everything for me. For us. She rested her head on his shoulder. Partnerships are divisible by 2. He lifted her hand, kissed her knuckles. I've never shared power. It always felt like weakness. What does it feel like now? He turned her to face him. Like strength multiplied. His lips brushed hers, gentle, reverent. Marco cleared his throat beside them. Sorry to break this, but Capaldi envoy requests a brunch meeting to finalize control terms. Dominic sighed. Business never sleeps. Neither do spreadsheets. Sienna quipped. He smiled. Come with me. Business and brunch, I wouldn't miss it. They descended the gangway, the sky brightening as sun licked clouds into pink and gold. Sienna watched light spread over cranes and container stacks, and over Dominic's profile, proud, resolved, softened at the edges by something far stronger than intimidation. Back at the penthouse hours later, Ava set toasted brioche and fresh berries on the terrace. Marco debriefed with Arturo by phone. Blanca updated firewalls from the corner workstation. Dominic and Sienna, at last alone on the balcony, clinked espresso cups. To bullet-free breakfast, Sienna toasted. To biscotti budgets, Dominic replied, laughter tugging his mouth. They sipped. Wind lifted Sienna's hair. Dominic tucked a strand behind her ear, fingertips lingering on her jaw. So, she asked, what's next on the calendar? He opened his custom leather planner, now color-coded. Today, finalize port security. Tonight, dinner. Tomorrow, beach reconnaissance? She arched a brow. Checking locations for employee retreats? For queen retreats. He closed the planner, eyes warm. But first, I need my executive operations director to audit the new security protocols. She set her cup aside, rose to her feet, and extended a hand in mock formality. Lead the way, Don. He took her hand, pressed a kiss to her palm, then folded it over his heart. Together, they stepped inside, the doors whispering shut as late morning sunlight spilled across polished floors. In that light, there were no shadows long enough to reach them, just the measured cadence of 2 hearts, beating in sync, ready to rewrite the Empire's future line by meticulous line. Far below, the city churned on, unaware that its quiet was written not in fear, but in a partnership stronger than gunpowder. And high in the glass tower, amid printers finally obedient and ledgers at last honest, love sharpened itself into the sharpest weapon of all, unyielding, precise, impossible to counterfeit.